Welcome back to Touching Bases Podcast. Today is Baseball Chaos, and today joining me is Jim Riley. He hasn't been here in a while, so we're welcoming him back to the pod. For those of you who know his channel, go check him out down in the description. If you're new, subscribe, and let's talk some ball. Jim, welcome back, dude. It's been
Let's
like
do it, man.
2 months.
It has been a while. It has been a very busy couple of months, and that's definitely what sort of pulled me away, covering and reacting and talking about all the offseason stuff. But now we're in that weird vortex that we were talking about before you hit that record button. It's like late February, early March. Some people are excited. Some people are bored. Some people are just kind of blah about, okay, baseball's back, but it's not really back. But I'm really interested in my prospects and my new free agent signings. But my team, so much going on.
That's like a half and half,
Everyone's in
too.
the wind. Yeah, everyone's in the wind right now.
Because some people love prospects and they're looking at like college players that they follow when
Mm-hmm.
they're in their like hometown and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like Jack Caglione and all this stuff. And then there's
Yes.
other guys that are like, who's that? Like, where's Acuna Jr.? It's
Yeah.
just split right now. It's very weird.
How into your team you are is tested right now, because if you're watching games and you're like, who is that guy? Then that's sort of like the barometer as to like how much of a diehard to a casual fan you are. If you're watching games and it's the seventh inning of a spring training game and you don't know anybody on the field, then you might be
It's a
more of a
wake up call.
casual fan than you thought.
Yeah. And then there's also those that are like, I know everybody on this field. He's in single A, he's in triple A, he's in double A, he's in high A. And
Right.
people are looking at you like, bro, you're psycho. Like, you need to chill. Find another
You know, it's
hobby.
fun. It's fun. The only thing I wish was different was like, I don't know if they're doing it this year. Last year they did that like spring showcase where they tried to basically put the top 100 prospects that were in spring training and did
Wasn't it a futures thing?
yeah, it was some kind of futures
Like
thing.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I wish like they cut it down, and by the end of spring training all the prospects are essentially gone. But it would be I wish you could kind of keep some of those top prospects up a little bit longer, and you didn't have to either cut or send them down or send them to minor camp or whatever they do, because it would be fun for, like you just brought up Jack Caglione. He's going to end up being one of the first cuts. But it would be cool to see him stay all the way to the end of spring training to get to a point where he's getting more than one at bat, or he's getting more than one at bat against, the top pitchers of the game, kind of
Almost
things.
like a spring five where you choose 5 players, they get to stay for the entire time, even though they might not make the roster, and you can,
Right. Like,
yeah.
let them get more reps. Let's see the guys that we know are going to be there one day and make a big impact, and we're all excited about. Let's see them longer and let them get more game action against some of those, against Paul Skeens, against
And
Framber
you're going to
Valdez,
draw in
against the
so
top
many
pitchers.
people, like, because they're
Yeah.
going to see what can they do, because later in spring training, that's when the
Yeah.
MLB guys come in and
You
they
get an
start.
extended look. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, okay, you face the double A guys, you face the triple A guys, you can do it now.
Yeah.
Here's Scherzer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now here's DeGrom.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that'd be cool.
yeah, that I agree with you. That would be legit. Maybe Manfred watches this video out of the, I don't know,
Do it,
1,000
Rob.
that catch it. Yeah, come on, listen to us. We know ball.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I mean, and speaking of which, like what they did last year, but looking into this year, I wanted to ask you this because there's a lot of players that suffered from injury last year, and big names too. And I think the teams with kind of like the biggest hit was the probably the Braves as far as injury goes, because they lost
Oh yeah.
Acuna, they lost Strider,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then like I would say LA, but they've made so many additions, I don't think it matters anymore. Really, because like they had
Doesn't.
Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin coming back, but it's like, where are they even going to fit on the roster? I don't know. But
Mm-mm.
or even Clayton Kershaw. I know we want him to get his 33 strikeouts to break that milestone, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a
He's going to
lot
be
of
second
players.
half. He's going to be a second half guy, and he
Yeah,
will probably be there when, I hate to say it, but it's the way things have gone the last couple of years. He'll be there when somebody gets hurt.
yeah.
Like I hate to say, I'm sorry. It's
Well,
gonna
no,
it's gonna
there's too many
happen.
guys.
Yeah.
There's too many. Where are you going to put them? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have Dustin May and Gonzalez ahead of you. And right now it's funny because Roki Sasaki, who everybody's been talking about this whole offseason, is just a non-roster invite. Of course, he's
Mm-hmm.
probably going to make the roster, but at the same time, this is funny. While I'm on his, because like I said, we're going to be scatterbrained as far as this all goes. Let me share my screen because I saw this on Instagram. I kind of laughed. I was like, oh boy, that translation from the MPB to here.
Yeah.
His first at bat is against Kyle Teal, who was traded um, in that deal with what was it? Was it with Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crochet deal.
Boom.
I know.
Very first batter, and it's a rocket, just completely destroyed.
Well, that's the
It's
thing.
one batter.
Yeah, it's one batter, but I think it's just a reminder
Yeah,
that they're going to pitch him in Japan. You have to, right? The opening series against Cubs has to pitch in Japan.
yeah,
Him and Yamamoto. But when they come back, if he struggles, like they'll have options on him. They may feel like he needs further development and they don't want him getting rocked by MLB because maybe the splitter doesn't split with the Major League Baseball, because the balls are a different size if I remember right. So
I think it's the
you
thread. It's the
yeah,
stitching. This
yeah,
difference.
it's
Yeah,
a different ball. So I think that there is a very real chance that Sasaki may see some significant time down in the minors this year, but not at the start. You brought him on board. You're playing in Japan. He's out there in Japan. No doubt about it.
yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised next year if the Dodgers play 3 games. This year they played 2, right? Last year it was 2. Wouldn't be surprised if it's 3 next year so that Major League Baseball can roll out Yamamoto, Sasaki, and Otani 3 starts. I have
Mhm.
I have a feeling next year it'll grow to 3 so that all 3 of them can pitch over there. But Sasaki's gonna that'll be an early. If he's down in the minors, it'll most likely just be at the start of the year when Kershaw's back and ready to go. That is when you're going to look at the thing and you're going to say, okay, now where do we put him? If Glasnow's hurt, great, you got to back up. If Gonsolin is hurt, great, you got to back up. Gonsolin's the guy who may get traded in season. I would not be surprised to see that happen. Let's say
He's
the
time to do
Dodgers,
it. He's
if
30.
Max Muncy gets hurt, I know Max Muncy's not an injury prone guy, but he was hurt for a lot of last year, and he's getting older. So if Muncy goes down and the Dodgers all of a sudden need a third baseman, there is a trade just waiting to happen with the Cardinals.
Arenado.
Yeah. I mean, and Gonsolin would be a great piece for the Cardinals to get back in that trade.
But who else are they going
I've
to
been
give up? Because they're going to want more than just.
well, you get 2 years of Gonsolin, and the Dodgers have to dip into the farm system, which is
That's
wouldn't have to be too extreme, especially if you're taking on money.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have to be taking on,
It's right up their alley.
yeah. I mean,
It's
it
only
would be
2 mil
perfect.
too. It's like a reverse Otani. It's two
Yeah.
mil deferred, not 60 mil deferred.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think with the thought of Muncy potentially getting hurt, and they also have an option. So Muncy, this could be the last year of Muncy as a Dodger. With Muncy getting, if he gets hurt and he's going to miss time, and the Dodgers have a wealth of pitching, there is a trade that just makes too much sense. If Arenado doesn't get traded to the Yankees, then I really think in season there will be a lot of heat. Only if Muncy gets hurt. If Muncy gets or Hae-Sung Kim, if he stinks, if he can't hit a
That's a
breaking ball,
possibility.
it is a real possibility. If he stinks and they're like, okay, Rojas isn't cutting it, Chris Taylor isn't cutting it, we got to move Muncy to second, and we got to make the deal. There's I mean, the easiest trade to make is Arenado to the Dodgers, but I know that Dodgers fans are good. The Dodgers are good as is with Muncy and,
Mhm.
and Kim, and that's fine. But once the season plays out, I mean, they break it down into thirds. The first third is let's figure out what we are. The middle third is let's figure out what we need and then go get it. And then the back third is go. So somewhere in between that first and second third, the Dodgers will figure out if they need Arenado or not.
Well, don't you feel like they don't even need to go out and get? I mean, obviously, I state this, but I understand it's the Dodgers. They can go out and get it, the whole superstar team. Why not? At this
Yeah.
point, like it doesn't matter, especially a guy with a bunch of deferred money. Like that's right up their alleyway. But honestly, if Kim stinks
Hmm.
and Muncy gets hurt, so he's just obsolete when it comes to stats. After last season, Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez both can fill those spots, and I feel like they would produce just as good if they were.
Yeah.
It's like it's not even
Well,
necessary.
Edmund too. Edmund could slide into the
Yeah,
infield. They could move
yeah,
him out of the outfield if Conforto's mashing and they want Conforto in there every day.
yeah.
And no, you're right. They wouldn't have to do it, but it I think it
Why
sort
not?
of it well it depends that and it just let's see what's happening.
Yeah,
If Kike is regular season Kike, you need somebody else.
yeah.
He's a low 200 hitter, and Rojas, uh, I think he could hold down the fort. But um,
He had a 111 WRC plus last year, 2.8 win
he
above.
was good. He was the
Yeah,
guy. Like Dodger fans were when I started talking about Bo Bichette as a trade possibility for the Dodgers. Everybody's like, "We don't need him. We got Rojas." And I'm like, "I know Rojas is good, but there's an upgrade to be had." And then Bo got hurt, and it didn't matter.
yeah,
But the Arenado would be an upgrade. And if they could get it for pieces that are inconsequential, and he could be a part of their future plan. Again, if you're going to see Muncy go, because Muncy was struggling at third base. Like he had to up his game defensively, and he did that. So that's credit to him. But if
they're
he
still focused on his bat.
regresses, yeah, it's just bad. If he
Yeah,
regresses, if he gets hurt, they have a thing at third base. Because I can Kike could another thing here is the timing. If Muncy goes down early, if Muncy goes down late, exactly what you said. They will fill it with Rojas and Kike and Taylor. They'll fill it internally. But if Muncy goes down in like May, and he's going to be out until August, they may consider it. And then when Muncy's back, the team is just more stacked, and they will opt out because that will be 2 years of Muncy missing significant time to injury as he's getting older. So they may decide it would be time to move on. There's a
yeah.
path to it. There's also a path to it not happening. But I think it's the path to it for the Dodgers from a trade partner perspective is better than the other teams that are out there. Even though I can find a Yankees trade, it still feels like the Cardinals would win the trade. Well, not win the trade, but come out as a better team if they traded with the Dodgers than if they traded with anybody else.
I feel like they would get more out of it in
Yeah.
return. I
Yep.
mean, but well, there's a couple teams that still could, um, but I feel like that they have the most.
The
I guess
Dodgers would give them the best return.
well, it depends what I guess it depends what the Cardinals are looking for. Do they want prospects or do they want guys now?
I think they got to, based on the direction of this team. I feel like it has to be maybe one of both. You got to be looking for like a split package, something that helps me in the future, something that helps me now, because I
Because they
want to
still have
keep.
one of the oldest rotations.
Yes. Well, that's
And
another problem. This Cardinals team needs to pick a lane because they're talking about we want to give time to the young players. Okay. Well, then get rid of the old guys. Well, we're not going to do that. What are you doing? Like, Sonny Gray should have been traded.
yeah,
Eric Fetty should be traded. Nolan Arenado should be traded. Like, those three should be gone, and they should have
even
all of the
Michaelis, like
prospects that came in. Right. Like all of the prospects that you could get back in return. Get guys that are close. Get guys that have multiple years of control. That's why I like the Gonsolin piece because Gonsolin has, I think, 2 years. Um,
I think
get
so.
get guys that are either close or there with years of control. Get the old guys out of there. If you're interested in turning the corner, commit to it. It just feels like they're stuck and they don't know which lane to pick.
Yeah, I made a video. I don't know if you were able to catch it. Probably not because you're so damn busy. But about like it basically exposed. It was Jim Edmonds' comments that made public that kind of exposed like what's really going on a national level. I know Cardinals fans are already about this. They already know what's going on. They are mad at ownership, just like I think a
Yeah.
lot of other teams are. Blue Jay fans are mad at ownership for not extending Vladdy. Mariner fans are pissed because this entire offseason additions have been the same
Underwhelming.
people and just one guy for 3 mil. Like
Hmm.
there's like a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is old news," but it's like no, like there's a lot of small things that like Arenado asked for Mark McGuire to come help him a couple seasons ago, like during spring training to help with his bat because he wanted to get more power, wanted to get the ball over the fence because he was hitting high average, but he wanted to get his pop back. And they're like,
Hmm.
nah, no, we can't, we're not going to bring him. It's
I
like,
don't. Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, it's like you're not even aiding with the players that want to like better themselves that are on your team, especially the veterans who want to be even better for you.
Hmm.
So it's very confusing that whole organization. But I do want to switch back to a specific question for you is that who are like, give me like two players that you're excited to see that pretty much missed all of last season that we all kind of forgot about. And I brought up Acuna Jr. for a reason because that's the guy I'm looking forward to because he was MVP and then all of a sudden
Hmm.
2024 nobody's talking about him because he's been gone after that second ACL tear.
Yeah.
So, who do you think?
There's there's a lot that you could grab.
Yeah.
A couple that are sort of prominent to me. I'll start with the Mets and Kodai Senga.
Okay.
That's he's their ace, and he was supposed to be their ace last year, and he was hurt all year. They finally got him back for the postseason, and it was kind of it wasn't the Kodai Senga that
He
you were expecting.
he kind of
He
blew it
was
for
not
like
ace.
2 innings, wasn't it? And then he was like pulled
Yeah,
out.
it
He
was a
was truly bad.
waste. It was I was out here kicking and screaming that it was a waste of a roster spot to
Yeah.
have a guy that you could only pitch 2 innings at the start of a game.
Yeah.
So that I'm interested to see Senga, and the Mets need him. The Mets are going through it again with Manaya and Montas. They're both going to miss opening day, miss the start of the season.
Yeah.
So Kodai Senga, who and by the way, the Mets will get that year back. So he had the opportunity to opt out after I think it was the third or the fourth year if he surpassed an innings count. And he's not going to do that now because he missed last year. So the Mets will
Oh.
get that year back by it being, I believe it turns into either he doesn't get to opt out or it's a club option that year that they'll get back. So this ends up working out this will end up working out in the long run for Mets fans. So Kodai Senga is one. Um, there's so I guess we'll stick to like most relevant teams. How about in Texas? There's a couple in Texas. I could count three: Evan Carter, Josh Young,
Mhm.
and Jacob DeGrom. Like there's three right there that could really catapult the Rangers back into a prominent role in that division if DeGrom is healthy. He's one of the filthiest pitchers. Josh Young, I think a lot of people have forgotten about him, but that is a stick that plays anywhere. And Evan Carter burst onto the scene in the postseason of 23 and then missed a ton of time in 24. So everybody, I don't know if people forgot about Evan Carter, but
No, no.
that'll be a huge boost for a Texas Rangers team getting those three guys back specifically. And there are more. There are anybody that's listening to this is probably thinking of a guy on their team or five other guys, but that's just how many big names are missed a ton of time last year and are coming back. I mean, at some point, Strider will be back in Atlanta, and that will be a huge boost to that rotation. Bieber is coming back in Cleveland. Woodruff is coming back in Milwaukee. You could go on and on.
Yeah.
But as far as Texas goes, like I highlight that situation specifically because they took such a step back last year, and a lot of it can be pointed towards injuries. It could also be pointed towards some underperformance. Jonah Heim had a terrible year. Adolis Garcia had a down year for his standards. Seager, if I remember right, missed some time to injury.
He was off
Simeon,
and on injured. Yeah.
Simeon
Yeah.
with the bat. The whole damn team
Was right.
took a step back last year. And you look for those bounce backs, and then you look for the return from injury. And Texas has really got it going on.
Yeah, they have a lot coming back. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
last year what I just pulled up, they were the number one when it came to lost money. Um
Yeah. Because of
and
injuries.
because of injuries. I guess I lost my camera. Lovely. Um
I can
uh,
still hear you though.
yeah, you can still hear me. Anyways, so you have Texas kind of lost wasted amount of money. Obviously, that'd probably be the Jacob DeGrom contract
Yeah,
that came out of there.
yeah.
But I mean, on top of that,
Which they
Angels,
knew. They
yeah,
were getting into that bed when they signed that contract. But still, him coming back is a huge boost.
yeah, 100%. So, um, it's just one of those things where all these teams have so many injuries and then they're still fighting for the playoffs. But I don't know. The Texans just took a huge step back, and I don't think they ever saw Evan Carter at a healthy point
No.
ever.
Mm-mm.
So I don't think people are counting him out because they, at least the obsessive fans, are going to recognize that going into 2025, where they're going to be like, okay, we didn't get him fully healthy. It's almost like, um, I mean, just for home, like Mariners with Jorge Polanco trade. Like he was injured the
Mm-hmm.
entire season with his
Mm-hmm.
patella tendon injury. We'll see how he bounces back next year if he does, but he chose Seattle over Houston, and Houston offered him a contract. So if you feel like he just couldn't play in Seattle, he wouldn't have come back. Granted, the incentives with the contract might be more appealing because he can make what he did if he performs, and he sees the upside to that. But also, maybe he could have been more interested in going to a team that's rated to be the winner for the division next year for the AL West, and that would have been Houston. So I don't know. It's very much up in the air. I'm not I love to be a fly on the wall in that room during negotiations or whatever he's deciding, but um, but yeah, there are a lot of injuries and everything that kind of held everything up. Spring training underdogs, like I've been kind of paying attention. I understand what we're like really 1 week into spring training, so take it with a grain of salt. I am not
Mm-hmm.
by any means saying like, "Whoa, stop what you're doing, guys. Here's the next MVP." Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not insane,
Mm-hmm.
but there are guys that are performing, and then there's also guys that are equally getting the time in at spring training currently that are just not performing. Could be a stint, could be, shaking the rust off,
Yeah.
but clearly some players have come in and are more prepared than others. Now, these names are not probably not going to jump at you, but the first one is Zach Veen with Colorado.
Yeah. He
Stats
was
at bat.
wasn't he the player that did a bat flip and flipped it out towards the pitcher?
I
And
have
he had
no idea if he
I
did
think
that.
it was a Rocky, and I want to say it was Veen who hit a home run, and when he did the bat flip, he basically followed through and then flung the bat at the pitcher and did like a sorry. He got probably wanted to like throw it, like slam it down, but he let
Yeah.
go too soon, and he's like sorry. This thing is like in a regular season, if you do that, like you still got to get around the bases, right? Like
Yeah.
would the pitcher go after him? An MLB pitcher like Max Scherzer would be like would just pitcher would charge the batter if something like that happened in a
I feel
regular
like it
game.
I feel like it depends on the pitcher. If it was Max
Yeah, it
Scherzer,
would. Yeah,
if it
he
was
might.
Nolan Ryan, if it
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
oh yeah. He chased him around the bases.
oh dude, it would be bad. Yeah,
I like
it'd be
Veen
really
though.
bad.
Veen was a guy who's been sort of struggling at the minor league level. Like it was there, and there's been a couple of those Rockies top prospects. Veen, Romo, who's the other one? I think it's Montgomery. Guys that have been sort of their top picks over the few years that struggled at the minor league level. So they're definitely players to watch this spring
Well,
because
and that's the
what they
thing.
do now could be an indication of they're getting it, it's clicking, or it's just spring training numbers, and Zach Veen will go back down to the minors to start the year, and he's going to be terrible because he doesn't have a spot. That the outfield is pretty much set with Doyle in center, who's amazing by the way, with Jones and with I'm pretty sure Jordan Beck. His job, like they have announced that Beck's the odds-on favorite or has the right field job. It's his to lose kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing. Jones is the one that I was going to say is fumbling hard. Um,
Yeah,
he's
he'll get more of a break because of what
because
he
of his
did
his
2
pass.
years
Yeah,
ago.
I'm
Yeah,
just saying he has 12 at bats so far this season. Out of the 4 games that he has played, he's
hmm
batting a a .077 batting average. Like he's batting a 77.
yeah.
He's had 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, no hits.
I think it's a short leash. I think what this means is he'll have a short leash in the regular season. If he doesn't get it going, and it carries through into April,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta think they'll say, "All right, dude, like you struggled in spring. We gave you a break because of your history. You're still struggling now. And Zach Veen, who had a great spring and is killing it at AAA, sorry, dude. Like, we gave you a chance. I think that's probably what it does. Is it puts Zach Veen, it maybe leapfrogs Montgomery,
Puts him in the bench,
and also puts Beck in a spot where you better perform.
who's
And
also
if
doing bad.
right, and
And I
that
should
could
I should correct myself. Nolan Jones is batting 0. Like, he has his batting average is 0. His OBP is a
right,
.77, but or .077. But even Jordan Beck, who's had 11 at bats,
yeah,
his batting average is a 0.91. He
yeah,
has 1 hit, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Like, versus Veen,
uh huh,
who is batting 250 out of 16 at bats. He has 2 doubles, 4 hits. One of them is a home run, probably the bat flip, with 4
mm-hmm.
RBIs. He has 3 stolen bases and only 2 strikeouts. His OPS right now is an 857. And I'm talking about the Rockies, who
Yeah.
are the number 2 team in spring training right now with RBIs. Right behind the Mariners. Somehow the Mariners are leading spring training in runs batted in.
It's because you're not at your home Seattle ballpark. It's the batter's eye.
If we just move to Arizona, we will win the World Series.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
all
you
it
need.
is.
You need a new ballpark. You need to take the batter's eye from Arizona up to Seattle. That would be the greatest addition to the team that you could hope for.
Or maybe just a flat batter's eye instead of this curved shit that they have out there. I mean, they tried copying the Rockies by putting a bunch of trees out there, but they couldn't keep them alive, which makes no
Mm,
sense to me because
mm-mm.
they close the roof when it rains and the trees need rain. So they
It's I mean
need a botanist. That's what they need.
like the Teoscar Hernandez,
It doesn't
the
help.
Eugenio Suarez. Like, there's too many opportunities of guys that have left and click back into the guy we knew before.
Yeah.
And Randy Rosarena now is the one to watch.
Yeah.
I know he struggled last year, but who he was in Tampa, and if he continues to struggle, that feels like if he can't get it right,
Well, it's
then
taken
that's the thing.
25 years for them to figure out that there's something wrong with the park.
Well, it is. It just feels like, and maybe it's not the batter's eye, but it feels like this has been recent. Like, why is J Rod not ascending into a feared hitter like Ronald Acuna and the other top names? He's a top name, and I think he scares people, but he's not producing like Judge or Soto, and that's a tough thing to put on him. But
Yeah.
let's see some. Let's see flashes. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Why did Teoscar struggle so badly? Why do we see it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is this all happening recently? And like you said, they've tried to tinker with it and change it. Something's up, and you would like for them to fix it. Now, here's the thing: if they fix it, does it hurt your pitching? I haven't looked at all of the home road splits for all of the starters, and I think I need to, especially if I'm going to make this argument.
It
Be
is
interesting thing
significant.
to fact check. If the pitchers are better at home, maybe they're benefiting
They
from
are.
the batter's eye.
They are. And then Jerry Dipoto, who's lead of the front office for the Mariners, was a relief pitcher when he played ball. So he's very much biased to pitching,
So that's it. Yeah,
obviously.
they're not going to
Um,
change it if it's helping their pitching.
and and that's why I say they just need to go back to focusing on batting average, getting hits, not home runs. Don't
Yeah,
try to hit it out of the park because it's
yeah.
you're fighting uphill battle, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I know you have plans and you have stuff to do. I really want to hit these targets here. I
Yeah,
just want to put this notch in here.
yeah,
Chicago Cubs, even their bench is elite at this point, and I think everybody knows that they made a huge change for that NL Central race. I think they're going to
yeah,
win the NL Central. I'm saying it right now, just
yeah.
because if we're looking at spring, you have Workman, you have Alcantara, you have Michael Bush, and then you also added on Vidal. Is it Brujan? I believe
Run.
the second
Mm-hmm.
baseman who played for Miami,
Who's Sammy Sosa? I don't know if you saw this.
and he's back.
Sammy Sosa's in there. Sammy was talking with Brujan. Now,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if MLB sort of tinkered with like the progression, like if it was before or after, but you had Sammy talking to Brujan, and then Brujan jacked a home run. I don't know if the Sammy conversation was before or after that. Not saying
something
Brujan's
helps.
going to become a 40 homer guy, but these things happen. Jose Batista got better because Vernon Wells told him to swing sooner.
Yeah,
So, like, there can be different elements unlocked in players from talking to other players.
And not going back to the Mariners too much, but just add on to that, we now brought in Edgar Martinez, and now we've been seeing Julio hit the ball more. He hit a double,
Uh-huh.
I think, a couple times out there,
Well,
so
and you
he's
got
starting to
Seitzer
change.
too, right? You got
Yeah,
Seitzer from
and
Atlanta,
Seitzer's
which
helping, which we
I'm
needed.
interested. I'm interested in Seitzer
Yeah,
because he was in Atlanta for like a decade,
and he did
and
amazing.
he did amazing. But they fired him last year after a down year,
Mhm.
and he
That's
said
not
that
his fault, though.
he said his biggest struggle was that he couldn't stop the players from pushing and pressing too much to try to themselves pick
Mm,
up the slack.
yeah,
And I worry that that's a similar situation in Seattle. That not that it's an injury front, not that Ronald is, your Julio goes down and now everyone's trying to be Julio, but that there is a struggle happening there from a hitting perspective, and if it's a inner issue where it's players trying to do more than they're capable of, and they're pressing too much. If that at all is going on in Seattle, Seitzer just proved that he can't fix that with Atlanta.
yeah.
If it is a truly like technical thing and an approach thing, then it should be fine. So we'll see what Kevin Seitzer's got
And
from that
hopefully that
perspective.
message gets to the players. It's like, look, this is what didn't work in Atlanta. Here's the proof of it. So
Yeah.
believe me, like, try
Just
to
be yourself.
chill.
Let's work
Yeah.
on the technical aspect of hitting. Yeah.
And that's the thing. So Bruhan has never had I know he hit that one home run, but
Yeah.
he's never had more than I
Not a
believe
power guy.
eight stolen bases in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't. I looked into this. He already has 4 this spring training, and it's only been a week. So
Yeah, he's
he
going to
might be
run.
your speed guy, even though he
Mm-hmm.
has an on base percentage of 400. His OPS is an 1150.
Yeah.
That's somebody to keep an eye on because there's a chance that the Cubs are still looking to make a trade somewhere. And it could
They
be at the
might.
deadline. It could be any other time, whether it's bringing in more pitching, whether it's just getting some prospects because Nico Horner only has a couple more years and an expensive contract and they're being a little bit fidgety with their budget. So he could be a potential replacement, but they also have, I believe Nicky Lopez was brought on and he's doing great. He's
Yeah.
batting 500 with 10 plate appearances or 10 at bats. He has a OPS of 1115. So he's another guy that at second base that can fill in if they were to let go. I mean, these guys are
Yeah.
performing well
Yeah.
now, and I understand it's spring training, but that's super optimistic.
I think there's takeaways from this. It's not, you know, book it like, oh my God, David Bodie hit 600. Well, he's hitting 667 right now, but
Yeah.
David Bodie's going to be the league leader in hit. David Bodie's going to go out there and be David Bodie again. But I think there are takeaways, especially if you're noticing changes. One
Mhm.
change that's happened is Corbin Carroll has completely changed his stance, and I love it. Instead of that thing where he's got the bat back here and there's a lot of movement, he's quieted it all down, and he's
Almost
just holding the
Stephen
bat like
Kwan
this.
isk.
The bat, yeah, Corbin Carroll is in has made a terrific change. So if you're seeing a good spring and it's from a player who has made some changes and tweaks, I think there's something you can buy from that. And there is definitely some carryover as you head into the regular season. If it's a guy that was struggling, or if they continue to struggle, like we talked about in Colorado, it
Mhm.
could mean a job change. Nolan
Yeah.
Jones, if he struggles in spring and he struggles in April, and you got Zach Veen playing tremendous baseball, there could be a change.
And I think the biggest thing of this, if we look at all of them, all these guys are infielders, except for
Yeah.
Kevin Alcantara, obviously one of the top prospects center fielders. But you have Workman, third base. You have Michael Bush, obviously going to be
Mhm.
starting third or first, wherever they want to
Yeah.
throw him. Brujan's at second. Nicky Lopez is at second. They're all in the same place. So it's like you're seeing some like, okay, they're proving that they can play, and your depth, having depth, as we see with the Dodgers,
Huge.
is a gold mine that a lot of other teams don't have, like the
Hmm.
Twins, like the Mariners. They just don't.
Right.
If someone goes down, they're screwed, or if they trade away somebody, they're screwed. So this is a huge upside, and it lets people calm down a little bit, especially if they're trying to win their division. The last
Hmm.
thing before you go, because I know you've got to go, um, your team, Blue Jays.
Mm.
Oof,
Hmm.
oof.
Well, it was a bad offseason from a visual and an optic standpoint. They're certainly a better team this year. The Santander signing is something this team has been looking for years.
Yes.
So that's a huge get. Andres Jimenez from the bat, now they're hitting him lead off in the spring, which is scaring me to death because he's not only does he not hit, but he also doesn't get on base.
No.
But I think from a speed perspective, they probably like it. Their new hitting coach is talking about trying to be the most creative teams at scoring runs this year, which kind of scares me a little bit. But
Bunting.
okay, let's go. So Jimenez, from a defensive perspective, maybe the best defensive
Great.
second baseman in baseball.
And you get him
So
for like what, 7 years?
they got him. They bailed Cleveland out of that financial situation. So is the team better than they were last year? From a
No.
transaction standpoint, yes, they made
No.
themselves better. And there should also be a general bounce back because last year kind of feels like it'll be an outlier for guys like Bo Bichette. So you get a Bo Bichette bounce back, you get a Kevin Gausman bounce back. They revamped the pen with a ton of additions. Like the team is going to be better than they were last year. I had my video most recent talking about most improved, and I put the Blue Jays in the conversation of one of the most improved clubs. And it's because you got to sort of peel back all of the meme quality content that came from this offseason for the Blue Jays. The
Yeah.
Soto, the Burns, the Freed loss coming off
They're in
of
on
last year's
everybody. They
Ohtani.
got nobody.
In on
Yeah.
everybody. They lose out on everybody.
Yeah.
The biggest disappointment is not extending Vladdy, but that's not going to impact anything on the field this year.
Of
So the
course.
Blue Jays still, it's a Jekyll and Hyde offseason where from an optics standpoint, it looked really bad. But is the team improved? Yes.
Yeah.
Will the team be better in 2025 than 2024? Yes. So didn't you do your job? Yes, but there's a lot of other, loose threads hanging out that would have been nice to tie up at least one of them.
I
The
still
big
give
one
them
being
a
the
B.
Vladdy extension.
I still give them a B for their offseason. I would have given them an A if they were a team like the Rockies, the Mariners,
Right. The
you know,
higher
a low budget,
expectations.
the Rays, but they have the most money. They're owned by a corporation.
Yep.
They could have gone out and spent money, and maybe they probably have to because it just costs more to have guys to go to Toronto.
Well, they
It's
got to
just
get people to take it. The
yeah.
Burns contract that they offered, they said, just like they said for
Mhm.
Vladdy, that it would have been a record contract for the organization. But that's
Yeah.
not hard to do. The
Yeah.
record contract right now for the Blue Jays is Springer 6 for 150.
Which is
That's kind of an embarrassing record.
yeah.
But it would have been over $200 million for Burns. But the problem is they've created an atmosphere that you're going to lose out if the player wants to be close to home, like
Yeah.
Corbin Burns did. You're going to lose out if Max Fried wants to go be on a championship contender. You're going to lose out if Juan Soto's looking at your team and their future is nothing but question marks beyond this year. They have not
Mhm.
built an environment or culture. I'm shocked that they got Santander. They've not built an environment or a culture that is welcoming and inviting to other players. So you can offer Corbin Burns what would be a record contract. You could offer Max Fried more money than the Yankees. It isn't going to matter if you have not built something that those players want to be a part of.
Exactly. And going into 2026, this was kind of the main thing. Blue Jays will, if they don't resign anybody, I'm just
Oof.
saying, if they don't
Oof.
extend anybody,
Mm-hmm.
they just cleared $100 million in payroll. So if that were to happen, what would you like to see, or is it full rebuild?
I think there will be a mini rebuild.
Mini
They're
rebuild.
yeah, because they spent like $1 billion on that ballpark. They can't tear it down. They can't announce it. They're going to still have Anthony Santander. They'll still have Kevin Gausman for another year, though there may be some trade rumors for Gausman. If you trade Gausman, he's coming off a good year. You should be able to get something good and pieces that could be close. There's a lot of youth here that they can also claim that they're building around with guys like
I,
Joey Loperfido
I would
and
hope that they keep Bowden Francis because I
yeah,
think
he'll be there. He'll be
yeah.
both, but yeah, it'll be Bassett who'll be gone.
Yeah.
Gausman could be trade fodder, but the problem is going to be again the optics. Like the Santander thing, it sounds like they went way above what everybody else was willing to go, and that's why they got him.
Yeah.
Kansas City was willing to go 3 years. Like it seems like they really won and overpaid. So unless you find another guy like that, which maybe they can, I think it'll be very difficult for them to convince other players. Like, why would Kyle Tucker come to Toronto if you're going through. I mean, it's a pain in the ass to. Let's talk about just real life stuff. It's a pain in the ass to cross customs before and after road trips. Like some
Every
players just
single
don't want to
time.
deal with it. Yeah, every single time.
Yeah.
Players don't want to do that. It's not really a money thing and a tax thing because you got money thing and tax things in California and New York and all that other stuff, and they're paid in American dollars. While
Yeah.
it's not as an appealing tax thing like Florida or Texas, it's not going to really, I don't think, hurt you too much. And the fact that it's another country, that doesn't matter. But crossing the border could be a pain that some players don't want to deal with. And
I
I
still
think that
I still think that taxes matter because the Providence
they
tax on top
do.
of it is pretty intense.
They do, but it would matter if you're looking at like a tax friendly situation, right? Like if you're looking at
Okay.
Florida or Texas or somebody places where the taxes are
Washington
low,
State,
right? If you're
no,
doing that,
no
if you're
tax.
comparing to that, then you may choose the friendlier tax situation. But
Yeah.
I think that it really is more about it, primarily about what's the identity of this team. If I'm a free agent, I want to go somewhere and win. I don't want to lock in with somebody for 6 or 7 years and it's a losing situation because there are so many winning situations. I know I got to go and I keep talking, but there was a situation. I'm putting together all of my stuff for some future content. There are going to be in both American League and National League probably three really good teams that missed the playoffs this year in each league. Um, April is going to matter, I think, more this year than maybe it ever has. If you get out to a slow start, it could kill you in the end because there
Okay.
are going to be like Arizona last year, 89 wins, missed the playoffs. We're going to see that again, and it may happen to two teams. There are, because I think Miami's going to lose a ton of games, Colorado's going to lose a ton of games, St. Louis is going to lose more games than you think. So there's going to be a lot of wins out there for teams to go and get. And some really good teams are going to miss the playoffs. So when you are analyzing the situation, there's going to be a lot of really good teams out there. And if the Blue Jays don't identify as one, you're going to have 15 or 16 or 17 other teams to choose from that are in a better winning situation than the Blue Jays. And that's going to make it hard to bring players in.
Absolutely. Because I mean, you have it's as if we don't re-sign him or extend him. You're losing Vladdy at the end of this year. You're losing
And
Bo.
Bo. Yep.
You're losing Swanson. You're losing Chad Green, which would be a big one off your books, being with 10.5 mil, and then you're also
Bassett's a
losing
goner.
Bassett, and then Scherzer if he doesn't extend. Of course, he might even retire, but he's so
Yeah,
insane he might go till he's 47.
he might.
But yeah, you got a lot of big names and big holes that need to be filled. You have two rotation spots, you have two bullpen guys, and then you have two infielders that are your biggest names while everybody else is on pre-arb. I wish they held on to Horwitz. Some people are not big on him. I'm huge
I
on
like
him,
him.
even though he got injured. I understand, but I
He'll be
still
okay.
think
Should be
he's
fine.
going to be great.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's interesting.
they're in an interesting spot, and with all of this payroll that they've taken on, they are in the second luxury tax. So they may, with that 100 million, they may decide we are coming down. We got to get out of the luxury tax situation. We don't want to. We don't want to be in the second luxury tax and get the repeater penalty and all of that. They may decide that it's money that just comes off the books, and that is why the Blue Jays are a prime trade. I mean,
For anybody.
fire sale July team
Yeah.
because if they feel like this is a bust, the big salaries, Gosman, Bassett, Vladdy, Bo, if you can trade all of them, you could certainly get down out of the second. You may even be able to get out of the luxury tax altogether if you trade all of them. It could appear to be that
100%.
would be by definition a fire sale. It could get ugly.
It could get ugly, but I mean, I'm assuming they're going to do that. Like, what would the record have to be at that? They have to be
Just below
what, 10
500.
games,
I think
just below
I think
500?
if you're 5 games below 500 and you're 10 games out of the wild card, I think they open it
Go.
up. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough. Jim, I know you got to go do family stuff, take care of things. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yep.
Let's do it again. Okay. Like
For
sooner
sure.
than later. Because damn, dude. Like
Yeah.
last time you were on, it was the playoffs.
Well, now now it'll be easier. We can probably lock something in, for probably once a month at least.
I'm down with that. That'd be great. Especially around
Cool.
like opening day or something. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. Thank you guys, everybody. Go check out his stuff down in the description. Go see his channel. He puts out great content all the time. I know I've been slow. I'm trying to keep up with him. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Later.